Thank you. Tuchana, tanda sira shwe chiliya, biman samanzo soso shabya kaliya ma shurona, tanda di asha choliya, kukya manya ni kanya ni sungura, soso shabya kaliya ma shurona shi, yugi shwe yi, dida chapchi ani tanda dingya liya sira shwe, kundu liya kisi ngode na kyate na tanda pyuye yu na, ani tanda nga zo michi nye jido shi, kora yogi ani Franco Lapalia back jambuchi na yo ani Franco ya pirona ani kisi pia yeba ni na chaita na ba ani konjo di para ya yongre ni samai ni kunyi ni na rona na choji ni yo re naso to chacha
Tanto que não vamos fechar, né? Lusalém. 가. 어디 가야? To the student. Right. Hello. Good morning. Little bit delayed. I would like to apologize to you. Another meeting with the Tibetan. So, I have to speak something. So, a little bit delayed. Okay, sit down. 어제 운동해요. 응? 저도 잘 받으셨네.
동이 닌지 송도 주벨람 체제 선전 간제된 저그 차나베모 딘진 야솔라 소아데서 신들륜도쇼 하제 시시 쪽에 용조 땜뱅하다 디지텐지 겸네 비미용기 근접 잠링 시대 대변 첨부 공살함이 남제 탐제 체인지 세바 첨부초 다링장 캘리포니아 산에서 독재와 첨부 샵솔 카팅 장발 고송 귀자 피데 네들 커베 세계 미마 용다 학바도 장 캘리포니아 퓨리 쪽에 잡슈데 대양 지게도 공부 디닌 점발에 다자 소남 개발된 시 송바터 가데 트로스음지 고네 삼지 타시텔레다 점발 렉소 슈기 깜네 긴딩기데 아리 제조투미 장고 바브라 리 퓨리 핀조 넘버 셰 군조 넘버 용리야 잡슈데 예 쪽에 잡슈데 삼지 타시텔레 슈기
그 비로고 아이나. 비로고 아이데. 인지베. 인지르선. 현재 잘하래.
Your Holiness, with heart filled with joy and devotion, on behalf of all the members of the Tibetan Association of Northern California, our special guests and many of our friends gathered here today, I'm honored to welcome you back to Berkeley. We are overjoyed that you have returned to our community and deeply grateful for the blessing you have given this morning to our community center, the Shipinzoling in Richmond. With your blessings, our new community center is now truly our home. I would also like to extend my warm greetings to the Sangha members, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Tibetan brothers and sisters, and friends. Your Holiness, today we are highly fortunate for your kind acceptance to nurture our hearts and clarify our vision. I wholeheartedly thank you once again for your kind acceptance to enlighten us with your wisdom teaching. I'm now happy to present Tibetan community's children singing the Tibetan and US national anthem, followed by welcome song to His Holiness and a short piece of Tibetan opera. Please stand to sing the national anthems. Please be seated. Thank you. May I now request Congresswoman Barbara Lee to introduce His Holiness.
Yeah, and take good judgment away. I think one chair, yeah.
Good morning. I am so happy to be here in Berkeley today to welcome the extraordinary and preeminent spiritual leader, His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet, to the 13th Congressional District. We are grateful to the Tibetan Association of Northern California and Berkeley High School for hosting His Holiness. Wherever I go, I am telling people that my district is the most progressive, forward-thinking district in the country. And you know, this is also one of the most ethnically, culturally, and spiritually diverse regions in the country. More than half of my constituents speak a language other than English. More importantly, Your Holiness, by selecting Berkeley, California for your visit today, you could have not chosen a more significant place where peace and compassion are highly regarded. The 13th Congressional District, with over 800,000 residents, is the birthplace of the free speech movement. The birthplace. You have chosen the very city where in the 1930s, small student organizations at the University of California at Berkeley protested totalitarianism and fascism and organized annual peace strikes. And you have chosen the city where in February 1966, Berkeley women protested the war with a march to the Oakland Induction Center to demand an end to the Vietnam War and to bring our young men and women home. This is truly the heart and the soul of the peace movement in America, and we are all tremendously honored by your presence here today. I am humbled to introduce the Dalai Lama, who is a spiritual leader of Tibet, recognized internationally as a Buddhist spiritual and philosophical leader, as well as a statesman who has worked and still works tirelessly for peace in Tibet. For peace. His Holiness has lived in exile in India since 1959 when he fled Tibet after the failed uprising against China. Since that time, he has devoted himself to the plight of his people and to promoting world peace, winning the respect and affection of world leaders and millions of people throughout the world. His philosophy of nonviolence offers a solution to the most difficult political, environmental, and personal problems of our time. Tolerance, mutual respect, and reverence for all living things have been the cornerstones of his philosophy, the cornerstone. And his refusal to use violence in Tibet's struggle for freedom won him the Nobel Peace Prize in 1989 and respect of the world community. Nobel Peace Prize winner. In 2011, after years of democratic reform of the Tibetan government in exile, His Holiness formally ended the dual spiritual and political authority of the Dalai Lama, reverting to the original tradition of the first 4 Dalai Lamas to act as spiritual leader of Tibet. His Holiness has traveled extensively, sharing his philosophy of peace, based on compassion and personal responsibility. He has spoken out against the nuclear arms race, the destruction of the environment, and the suppression of political freedom and human rights. Today, you are going to hear from His Holiness about one of the most puzzling questions we as human beings have been grappling with since the beginning of time: how to achieve happiness. Your Holiness, On behalf of all of the residents of the 13th Congressional District of California, thank you for coming to Berkeley to share your message with all of us. We are filled with awe and humility. We are touched by your presence today. Please give, my brothers and sisters, please give His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, your love and a resounding welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. May I now request His Holiness to nurture us with your wisdom on how to achieve happiness.
Oh, that light very strong. Huh? What is this here? Okay, now. Now, how many Tibetans? See, Tibetan, raise hand. Oh, not really. Okay. Then those people who non-Tibetan, raise hand. And I also just want to know among the audience who attended yesterday's my talk. Anyone? Oh, they do. They are, I think, new. These people, I think, new. Okay. Respected Congresswomen, I may describe you elder sister, and then the rest of the people as a human brothers and sisters. I always start with the word brothers, sisters. I think that we really need that kind of sincere, serious of concept about sense of brotherhood, sisterhood. Actually, world, I think, in the past as well as even today, a lot of problem, actually, our own creation. So the ultimate sort of source or ultimate factor is to create these problems is with too much emphasis, I, me, self-centered attitude. So obviously, self-centered attitude, then you yourself a little bit of distance from others. Then you consider others, the field you can exploit, you can bully, you can cheat. So, on the other hand, genuine sense of concern of others' well-being, then no room to cheat, to exploit, or to bully. So therefore, now time comes, we really need the sense of brotherhood, sisterhood, entire humanity. So that kind of concept for individual also is very, very helpful. My own little experience. Whenever I talk people, I always consider myself as one of them. If I too much emphasis, firstly, I'm Tibetan, or I'm Asian, I'm Tibetan, then I'm Buddhist, then furthermore, I'm grade 14th Dalai Lama. So if I emphasize that, I'm something special, then actually, I myself distance from the audience. So that brings me more anxiety, more nervousness, because of nervousness. When I think, we are same human being, mentally, emotionally, physically, we are same. And more important, I want happy life, you also want happy life. For my sort of happy days and nights, sometimes my destructive emotions, sometimes you see, create some problem. So you also say, want happy life, happy days and nights, but sometimes certain emotions may not allow you. Mainly anger, jealousy, hate. So all these, anger, hatred, jealousy, this is very much linked with the feeling of self-centered. I am something important. I want more gain. So therefore, the self-centered attitude, I believe, the root causes of many world problems. Individually also, you see, more emphasis on self. And then the result, you will be more stress, more anxiety, and lonely. So as a result, you will not be a happy person. It is quite logical. We are a social animal. Even social animals like bees or ants or some other sort of mammals, because their whole sort of nature makes as a social animal, then they have a sense of community, work together. That's their survival, or their survival. They have a sense of community, sense of belonging, not come through religious faith, not through constitutional law, but by nature. So we, actually social animal, each individual's future depends on the community. But then sometimes our intelligence goes against that. I only think of I. The very basis of your life, your future, you don't care. So therefore, and then I think that today's reality also, now no longer is it thinking my nation, for my family, myself. No. The entire 7 billion human beings, their future interdependent. Obviously, East need West, West need East. Similarly, South needs North, North needs South. And the environment issue also makes one entity, right? One world. And global economy also makes one world. And then human population at the moment about 7 billion. When I first came, free world, 1959, then around 6 billions. Now last a few decades, now population reached 7 billion. So according to some expert, they say end of this century, the population will reach 10 billions. And then, because of global warming, nature disaster, recent years increasing. Now it definitely will increase. So we have sufficient sort of problem to pay more attention. Then you see, the out of concept of we and they and conflict, killing. I think senseless. We are really entire humanity facing the new problems and challenges. So we need work together. Our future. You see, really we need work together and a sense of oneness of humanity. That I think very, very important. So individual also, as I mentioned earlier, so with this sort of belief, with this conviction, when I give talk, one person, or few people, or 1,000, or 10,000, 100,000, for me, no differences. In early period, my life, in 50s, 60s, then a little bit sort of, because of the concern about myself. Then result, more nervousness. And when give talk, I need a lot of work, homework, prepare. So they eventually, they are quite familiar with this kind of talk. No homework, no need special effort, preparation. Whatever I come, because whatever thought or something come in my mind, just express. So, if you too much of the emphasis importance of yourself, then actually, I usually telling, if I too much emphasis as important of course the Dalai Lama or something very special person, then actually it creates something like a prison. You yourself make a prisoner. It's silly. So therefore, the concept of oneness of humanity is very, very essential. I think, may I ask you, as a Congresswoman, if you too much emphasis, I'm Congresswoman, I think more anxiety if you consider yourself as one of the human being. And psychologically, mentally, immediately, you see, come closer, like that. So that I want to share. Then I really sort of impressed. You mentioned here, because of people, because of the different sort of multicultural or multi-racial. And a common sort of the aim or common responsibility is against the totalitarian or these things. It's wonderful, really wonderful. I think here, you already have oneness of humanity. Wonderful, wonderful. So now, topic is how
to achieve happiness.
How to achieve happiness. What do you feel? What's the best way to achieve happiness? Money? Or power? I think most people, automatically they feel, or if you are more richer, or plenty of money, then you achieve goal. I think a number of Tibetans also, you see, very eager to come to the United States, mainly dollar, not spirituality. Of course, it is practical. We need the money. One time, you see, my eldest brother, you see, he used to live in monastery and study. Then eventually, he sort of left Tibet. So later, you see, he told me, when he was in monastery, he never considered importance of money. Once he came outside, then he really felt money is very, very important. Without money, you can't survive. So it is true, money important. But money, material facility only provides you physical comfort, not mind. Some my friend, very rich, I think, billionaire maybe. But when we talk, because of the leisure way, religion.
At leisure.
At leisure. Then such person, very rich, very educated, and very good name, respect in the society, but unhappy person. So this shows material value alone will not bring inner peace, inner happiness. So on the other hand, materially maybe poor, but we can see very, very sort of mentally very, very happy. One time in Spain, Barcelona, many years ago, I think 20 years ago, I think. On occasion, my visit there, then the organizer, you see, told me one Catholic monk, he wanted to see me. So then we met. One Catholic monk, the organizer told me he spent 5 years in the mountain behind their monastery. The Montserrat or something, Montserrat. So when we met, really wonderful Catholic monk. And then, so I asked him, I was told, you spent 5 years in the mountain as a hermit. During those years, what kind of sort of practice? I asked him. His answer, meditate on love. When he answered that, in his eye, some very special sort of the expression. And I noticed very, very happy person. His lifestyle, hermit. I was told he just water and bread, very rare hot meal. He remained on that. But he maintained genuine, calm mind. So result, very happy person. So this shows genuine happiness not depend on money or external facilities, but rather internal values. Now scientists also, you see, saying through their own experiment, more compassionate person, much happier, and as a result, physical sort of health also much better. Mentally, is constant fear or constant sort of anger, hatred, actually eating immune system. So, healthy mind, peaceful mind, is a very, very important factor for healthy body. And then obviously, family level, more compassionate, sense of concern of others' well-being, then the rest of your family member trust you, really love you. Within the family, you think more your own interest. If necessary, little lie here and there among the family member. Then, with that, how can develop trust? Without trust, how can develop genuine friendship? Even an animal, if you treat them sincere sort of love, they respond. Sometimes I sort of telling my own sort of stories. When I was in Tibet, then I was quite young. So I have one parrot, right? Parrots. Oh no, parrot. One my friend, he used to give that parrot nut. So eventually, the friendship between that person and parrot, something really remarkable. Then, so when you see the person, you see, walks, on sound of his walk, footsteps you see come. The parrot already you see showing something, excited. Then he gives some nuts. Then also you see his finger in cage, his finger, and then parrot's head. Got that. Parrot, something very, very nice. So I developed some jealousy. So I also want that kind of relation with. Few occasions I give nuts. I think basically out of jealousy. So you see, the parrot knows giving certain nuts from my hand, not very sincere. So he never showed that kind of a friendship attitude. And after a few days, I lost my patient and I used a little stick. Then the friendship now become impossible. Like that. So even animal, you see, sincere love, kindness, then they respond. Affection, then they respond. So then we human beings, in order to bring friendship, trust is the key factor, not money, not education alone, but sincere of heart. So then, on the level of society, as a social animal, we need friends. How to make friend? Trust, transparent, truthful, honest. So that way, individual level, in order to become happy person, or happy family, happy community, happy nation, then finally, happy humanity. So now I think we are at the beginning of 21st century. 20th century gone. 20th century, in spite a lot of sort of
advances,
development, but many historians say 20th century, the number of people who killed through war, through violence, over 200 millions. So, that 20th century, we can describe a century of bloodshed, in spite of many other sort of positive development. There's that century, First World War, Second World War, Korean War, Vietnam War. You also mentioned Vietnam War. So some kind of anti-war movement. So in any way, so that century become century of bloodshed and a century of violence. The immense violence really makes better shape of the world. Then we can just, some people say, justification about violence. That's not the case. I think Syria, for example. Immense violence, suffering. These I consider symptom of the past mistake or past negligence. If past century, I think pay more attention about compassion, about love, harmony, perhaps I think these unthinkable violence maybe could be less. So therefore, from our past experience, now at the moment, beginning of the 21st century, now we must think new way, should not take for granted our existing thinking, existing way of life will be because of that. Okay, I don't think. Now time come. Think more because of the global level. So the sense of oneness of humanity is, I think, very, very essential. Then America, I think, the leading nation of free world, and in material field and technology field, this country made a lot of innovation. Innovation, wonderful. Now, inner development, there, I think you have, I think, a greater potential because of there is freedom, because of rule of law, these things, and good education. Therefore, now, the mental development, that field, I think United States, American people, I think you can make significant contribution. Already I have some scientists from this country really, making effort to promote secular ethics through secular education. Wonderful. And particularly this state, as you mentioned, already, I think, multi-culture, multiracial. So this is, I think, one positive sort of factor. You can build sense of oneness of humanity. So I think you can make some significant contribution regarding promotion of genuine sense of concern of others' well-being on the basis of sense of oneness of humanity. So then individuals' happy life automatically come. Think more about others' well-being. You get more satisfaction. As a result, happier person. Think more oneself, more anxiety. Actually, more suffering. So that's quite obvious like that. This is not necessarily religious teaching. And then all major religious traditions, emphasis the practice of love, compassion. So all religions also, accept there is sort of mentally, there is sort of opposition or negative. So all major religious traditions teach us practice of tolerance, practice of forgiveness. And also all religions, accept the too much sort of self-centered attitude and sort of the desire, greed, also brings some sort of problem or lesson, practice of love, compassion. Therefore, all the major religious traditions also, emphasis, practice of contentment, simplicity, like that Catholic monk. They deliberately practice that. So, then self-discipline. So all major religious traditions, have same potential to help to bring these inner peace. Then philosophical field, big differences. I always consider the real message or real purpose of these major different religious traditions is try to become compassionate human being. So for that, use different method, different philosophical views. So the concept of God, creator, one powerful method. Once you believe creator, we all created by God. So 7 billion human beings are created or come from same source. So there is a real sense of brotherhood, sisterhood. Then also, since God, some of my Christian friends, they say, since we created by God, so everybody has some kind of spark of God. God means infinite love. Very powerful method. And this very life created by God. So very powerful method. Then non-theistic religion, Jainism, and one part of Sankhyaism, and Buddhism, these three, mainly these three, no concept of creator, but rather self-creation. And then these tradition, their concept is law of causality. So again, if you do good, you get benefit. If you help other, you get benefit. If you harm other, you get negative consequences. So different method, different concept, but same aim. So I believe, you see, the major theistic religious tradition, believe God, pray to God, very important, but the very purpose of sort of faith to God is to be more compassionate person. So then you can see all major religious tradition use different method, different philosophical views, but the same aim, try to become sensible human being, compassionate human being. So one of my sort of commitment is religious harmony, as you briefly mentioned. Religious harmony. The last several decades, wherever I go, some interfaith service and discussion. One day in Australia, I think Australia, Sydney, I think, there's one of my talk, public talk, the person who introduced me on Christian minister, he also very much engaged the homeless people. A wonderful person. When he introduced me, he described me as a good Christian. So then, later, my talk start, I describe him as a good Buddhist. So there is, sense, there is reason. We both practice love, compassion, forgiveness, these things. So that is the main thing. So different dress, this is minor. Okay. And different philosophy is just a method. So, you see, my commitment, my sort of contribution regarding promotion of religious harmony, I feel, you see, I made some contribution like that. And then, this is not only just, you see, my own sort of kasota, my own special thing. No. In India, 1,000 years, you see, the harmony among the different traditions is there. So India is one living example where all world major traditions live together, respect each other. Occasionally some problems happen. That's understandable. But overall, I think wonderful. For example, I think 2 years ago, you see, I visited one Muslim area in India, place called Jodhpur in Rajasthan. Oh! Rajasthan. I met one Romanian. You see, he carried research work about India's religious harmony. He told me he visited one Muslim village. Village means, according Indian Indian size. The village means few thousand must be there. So, in that Muslim village, only 3 Hindu families, no fear, completely, because of the harmonies. So that's India. So therefore, it is possible. Different religious faith live together. Mutual respect, mutual admiration. Then, another my commitment, as I mentioned briefly, is secular ethics. This I want to share with you. In the West, some of my friends, you see, they get impression. The secular means something, atheism, some connection with atheism. According to Indian understanding, the secular means not at all negative towards religion. The secular respect all religions, all faith. And also secular means respect non-believer. About, I think last 3,000 years in India, that kind of tradition, respect non-believer and respect all religions. So therefore, India, when becoming independence, the India multi-religious nation. So India's constitution based on secularism. So in India, secular concept, they very much emphasis. So secular never some disrespect religion. Then also I usually see telling people the French Revolution and Bolshevik Revolution and also in Chinese Revolution, they said there are occasions, some kind of anti-religious sort of movement. But I think precisely if we look closely, how can against religion? Religion means practice of love or method to promote love. Even an animal appreciate that. No human being against love. Difficult. So if you really against love, then we must against our mother. Our mother provides us maximum affection when we were young, isn't it? So then these anti-religious sort of movement or that sort of yes, that movement is actually anti-religious institution. We must make a distinction. Religious concept, religious faith, and religious institution. Religious institution, unfortunately, in the past and also even today, sometimes religious institution has become like social, some kind of sort of organization, and sometimes is exploit the poor sort of faithful sort of people, manipulate. So exploitation. So therefore, during the French Revolution and the Bolshevik Revolution, it is really worthwhile in order to against the ruling elite. Ruling elite usually used to say, oh, they have some kind of God's special sort of blessing. So in order to against that, in order to change that, in order to break that sort of challenge that, you also need courage, even against the religious, because of the institution or religion or God. It's clear. So the reality against corrupted religious institution, not religious faith itself. So now the secular ethics, I think very, very sort of relevant to today's world. Out of 7 billion human beings, about 1 billion actually non-believer. And also I often see, because of the openly sort of state, among the believers also a number of occasions of sort of corrupted believer. So these clearly shows lack of firm conviction about moral ethics. So a person who have real conviction about the value of moral ethics, then these different religious traditions really, because of the strengthening, you see, these values, then religious person, sincere religious person, will never be corrupted person. But we obviously see corrupted religious people there. So it is clearly show lack of genuine sort of conviction about value. That conviction, justice is based on faith, difficult, through education, through reason, through experiment. So now some scientific sort of research clearly shows these honesty or these inner values really brings immense benefit to individual or society like that. So that is the how to achieve happiness, right? Happy life. So that I want to share with you. If you have some interest, then think more and also share with your friends. If you not much interest, then this idea just live in this hall and outside. Forget, no problem. Some questions now, some questions. Thank you. Yes, few questions now.
Tashidelek, Your Holiness, how can I better motivate my child to be happier and to perform better at doing his homework and schoolwork?
The Pamajirwe.
Pamajirwe, Puguti Simshu Gerus.
I think first let me marry and produce one children, then I have real experience how to deal. I think basically, as I mentioned earlier, you see these, I think, show by parent, of course, biological factor already affection there. Then children, week by week grow. Then I think eventually some sort of sense of sort of knowledge. Then explain these values, I think. And then the real sort of also the education about warm-heartedness is not only through word but through action. So that's my view. So I think the parents themselves, I think, know better is how to educate, how to influence, more compassionate ways like that. Next question.
Your Holiness, can you please speak about death? Every religion has different ways of burial, different beliefs for the soul after it dies. Since we cannot know until we ourselves die what happens to the soul of loved ones, is there a fact for what happens, or is it just based on beliefs?
Now here, you see different philosophical views. As briefly I mentioned, according theistic religion, then this very life created by God. So this is the beginning of life. Then after death, you see, according to their own sort of the concept, I think, you see, for the time being, rest in coffin. till final judgment comes. So then, if you led meaningful life, compassionate life, then 100% sure go to heaven. Very happy. If your life something harmful to other, harming others, then only thing is go to particularly like me, you see, teaching something like love, compassion, these things. If I doing something different way, then very possible go to heaven. Then non-theistic religious tradition. Now here, I think Sankhya philosophy and also Buddhist philosophy, a Buddhist concept or Sankhya concept, Jain also. You see, what they call soul or self, always remain. No beginning, no end. So death means something like change your old clothes. When time comes, change that, and then new clothes. But like that, this body decay or no longer useful, then death comes. Death means changing your body, not self. Self always remains. That's a non-theistic religious tradition. According to that, that's the way. Then since self remains always, in the meantime, all three, Buddhism, Jainism, the Sankhyaism, all have the accept of salvation. So, same soul, so long under dominance of suffering. That's because of that, samsara. When you liberated from, firstly, liberated from ignorance or destructive emotion, then gradually you see you overcome all suffering. That's the salvation. Like that. So in any way, at the time of death, peaceful mind is very, very essential. So people who look after that person, at that moment, keep your mind should not disturb and must keep calm mind. If the person is a believer, then reminds God, or Buddhist, or reminds Buddha. And most important, faith towards God, or practice of meditate or thinking about compassion, these things. To Buddhist, then generally you see compassion and also the thinking about ultimate reality. That's usually we call selfless, also the absence of independent existence. That sometimes we call emptiness, like that. So myself, when end come, I'm quite sure, meditate on love or altruism, infinite altruism, and understanding about ultimate nature of reality, like that. And on top of that, some visualization. So my daily prayer, my daily practice, all days, always, thinking, familiarize. So suppose at the time of death, this practice makes these things something alive. But I'm not very sure. So I visited different places, it was a long flight.
Flights.
So if something happened, then I don't know. All sudden death, then difficult, this practice, isn't it? Next question?
Final question. I think the time is.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. This is a personal question. This is from someone called Savannah Leslie. What do you do all day? What do you like to do for fun?
I think all 7 billion human beings, the most important, eating, sleep. I also do that. And particularly, I'm Buddhist monk, so usually no dinner. So breakfast and lunch. And breakfast always quite a heavy breakfast, because the previous day, no meal, like that. So one my younger brother, you see, I tease him. He usually used to get up quite late. So I tease him, you never saw the sunrise. Then he responds, so he goes to the counter, sort of say, real purpose of my sort of getting early morning is not for meditation, but for breakfast. So, as a Buddhist practitioner, as a part of practice of altruism, daily you dedicate your body, speech and mind well-being of others. That's very helpful. Sometimes a long day is quite sort of tiring, but at the end, and reflect, oh, the day I use some sort of contribution or happiness of others. Then you get some kind of satisfaction. Although tiring, physically tiring, but mentally some fulfillment of
Sense of fulfillment.
Sense
of fulfillment, sense of purpose.
Sense of purpose. Like that. Like that. Thank you. No, thank you.
Hello. Today, we are truly blessed to have His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, the reincarnation of Chinese Sikh, the Buddha of compassion. In Tibetan, one of the many terms of endearment and respect that we use for His Holiness is Kundun, which means the presence. We believe there is no greater fortune than being in Kundun's presence. For that precious blessing, Your Holiness, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Your Holiness, you have given us 2 more precious gifts today, not only by blessing our community center in Richmond earlier this morning, but also by agreeing to speak to all of us gathered here on the topic of how to achieve happiness. You have often said that all beings wish to be happy and that we all share the right to be happy. Each of us struggle from our own personal pain and suffering. Our cities and nations struggle with war and economic insecurity, and our planet struggles to survive. Who better to help find a path to long-lasting peace, prosperity, and happiness than His Holiness the Dalai Lama, our perfect teacher. His Holiness was enthroned as the leader of Tibet at a tender age of 5. Ever since, he has devoted every moment of his life to the cause of Tibet. He has also made it his mission to help spread the message of kindness and love to the entire humanity. Friends, most of us have a home to return to after this event. We live in a free country with freedom and liberty that are secured for us at all cost. Sadly, this is not the case with His Holiness and the great majority of the Tibetan people. His Holiness travels on a refugee travel document on his mission of peace. Even though he cannot return to the country he calls home, he is committed to making our world a better home. He has devoted his life to giving, including even to those who have taken away everything from him. Tibet needs you now more than ever before. Through this, I would like to appeal to Congresswoman Barbara Lee and all our supporters and friends to urge President Obama to bring the Chinese government to the negotiating table with the representatives of His Holiness. And let us never give up until the Tibetans inside Tibet and around the world are reunited with His Holiness. Just as Martin Luther King Jr. did half a century ago, we too have a dream. Our dream is that someday His Holiness will be back in the Potala Palace with the Tibetan national flag fluttering, in the Himalayan breeze, spreading the message of love, peace, and compassion to the 10 directions of the world. Please join me in wishing His Holiness long life and the fulfillment of his aspirations. With this, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all our friends and supporters for your tremendous support all through the years. I would also particularly like to thank William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, the Haas Foundation, the First Five Alameda County, Betsy Gordon Foundation, Chris Worthington, and many other generous contributors and friends who have helped us over the years. We can never thank you enough. Thank you so much. And with this, I would like to seek His Holiness' permission to have our children recite the long life prayer.
We will now end this event with the opera song from Chak Samba Group, singing a well-wishing Tibetan opera song to His Holiness.
Rangja Pemi Yongi Tawe Midang, Kokbe Ning Tabu, Zamli Shide Debu, Jino Kosta Jambu Jambucho, Kuzi Shabe Geger Densi, Tugi Shetun Tata Hunge Ruba Show, Teshimo Lamgi Namda, the Geji Pubalaso.